Alright, so today I will show you exactly how I increased the number of first-time customers for a well-established supplement brand by 345% in just 60 days, all the while decreasing their cost per acquisition by as much as 40%, ultimately helping them to secure VC capital. Stay tuned as I break down the exact ads, landing pages, tactics, and overall strategy. As I dug into the brand and its growth, I quickly came to realize that the brand was actually in a bad position. The amount of first-time customers had been declining for months, and this had also stalled their growth on returning customers. In short, the business was shrinking, and if it wasn't addressed, it would ultimately run out of first-time customers and returning customers. Our initial target for the brand was to stop it from shrinking. We had so much confidence in the product that we took on the challenge, where normally we don't really like to work with shrinking businesses, as it's really hard to work with a business that's basically unprofitable or that's shrinking. We thought really long and hard about, do we really want to take on this challenge? But knowing that the products were so good, as well as their customer satisfaction and their lifetime value, we decided to take on the challenge and make our initial target to get the brand back to profitability. So we've done the research, we know our numbers, and now it's time to write some really effective ads. All right. Through the customer research, we defined three main avatars: the CEO, the hustler, and the early bird. We do this because when you have a singular person in mind, your ads become a lot sharper and can cut through the noise. Over the years, after reading dozens of books on copywriting, especially the Holy Bible, breakthrough advertising from Eugene Schwartz, which you need to read, like it's insanely good, and following different courses and whatnot, I found a framework, or developed a framework for testing ads, which is insanely effective. What I found is that humans have three main motivators to buy something. Of course, there are others, but these are the ones that I found to be the most frequently present, but also the strongest. Those are moving away from pain, where we emphasize what the actual problem is. An example headline for this would be, do you hate to get up early, right? Then the second motivator is moving towards a desired end state. This is very closely related to moving away from a pain, but the message is a lot more positive. An example of this is, wake up refreshed and energized, right? It's less focused on, are you tired? It's more focused on refreshed energy, all right? And then the last motivator I start out with is social influence. An example headline here would be, this study shows that 384 participants felt more awake after drinking this in the morning. And that shows the social proof. Of course, we don't just make up these studies, but we find them through our 30-page customer research document. Now, within each of the motivators that are pain, desired end state, and social influence, I use three copywriting frameworks. These frameworks are extremely helpful, and it also, by applying consistent frameworks, you can also compare performance between each framework, but also compare performance between each of the avatars. All right. And the three copywriting frameworks that I use are intensification, gradualization, and story. Now, intensification is just that. I intensify that which the prospect wants. An example of this would be the following. It doesn't matter whether your day starts at 7 a.m., hell, not even if it starts at 4 a.m. You're going to be fired up, unstoppable. How? Also notice that the how in this ad is located at the very end. It's exactly located to, entice intrigue and to get them to click on the ad. The headline in this ad also did extremely well. So it says, snap yourself out of fatigue and exhaustion. It provides the solution to the mass market desire. The desire of people not to be tired, a clear pain point in their lives and almost everyone's lives, all right? What we see from intensifying is that you take a certain idea, which is, all right, people are tired in the morning, they're probably tired at 7 a.m., and a solution for that would be somewhat impressive. But what if we intensify it and actually give them a solution with which they can get up at 4 a.m. and be unstoppable? They probably don't even need it, but it's that good, all right? That's how you intensify it. So you can kind of see the intensification going on in the copy. Like it starts at 7 a.m. and then it boosts forward to like 4 a.m. Gradualization is kind of the opposite in a way from intensification, and gradualization is a technique used to strengthen the belief that people have in your copy. The order in which you present facts and promises determines the likelihood of someone believing in your statement. A copy that uses gradualization is very much anchored in logic. This makes it very different from intensification, which heavily relies on promise. An example headline for gradualization could be, did you know that there are more trans fats in the average protein bar than that there are in a donut, for example? And I used this headline when selling a protein bar, and it did extremely well because our protein bar did not contain that many trans fats. With gradualization, you persuade your prospect through facts and the occasional but easy to believe promise. So the way that belief is built is through structure. So if we present facts and logic first, and people are already open to the idea and they can sort of see the common thread and where your argument is going, then the promise becomes the conclusion versus the thing that you have to persuade them of, right? So if we give them logic first, then the argument or the conclusion is the promise, and it's really easy to believe. If you give them a really big promise at the beginning, then they're really skeptical and it's really hard to convince them afterwards. And that's why I use intensification and gradualization, because they're two completely different strategies. And sometimes you'll find that the sweet spot is really in the middle. And the last copywriting tool that I use or technique is storytelling. So a lot of people can really find themselves in stories. They're really easy to relate to. Our life is a story. We tell a lot of stories, and people just communicate through stories. So if you use stories in your ad copy, you'll find that the response rates are really high as well if you find a relevant story with that exact target audience. All right, so for each of the avatar, I write 9 ads. So I test the different emotional levers, which are social influence, pain, and desired end state. And within each of those 3 emotional levers, I test story, gradualization, and intensification. Now, the funny thing is that we tested 3 avatars, so I had 27 ads, but none of those ads worked. But I did spot a promising trend within these ads. Ads that focused on a pain point, specifically morning tiredness and fatigue, got more add to carts than other ads did. This is very promising because an add to cart is a leading indicator of a purchase. I once had a data analyst go through one of my ad accounts with $7 million in ad spend to calculate the correlation between return on ad spend and other metrics, and the results were really, really interesting. So the only metric that had correlation with a higher return on ad spend were purchase intent metrics such as add to carts, initiate checkouts, and purchases. There was no correlation between any of the other metrics in the ad account, such as CPM, CTR, CPC, cost per landing page. All other metrics that you can think of didn't have any correlation, meaning if you have higher CPMs, that doesn't mean that your ROAS will plummet. If you have a higher CTR, that doesn't mean that your return on ad spend will be higher. So focusing on any other metric besides purchase intent driven metrics is completely illogical. There's no fundamental truth behind a higher CTR being an indicator of a higher ROAS. So if your ads are not generating any purchases, but you are getting add to carts on some, that means it might be interesting to assess why those are getting add to carts and others aren't. Because from there you can make improvements. A handful of add to carts, however, is not enough. You want at least 10 add to carts per ad set or 7 per ad. I know that those numbers are not statistically significant, but we are entrepreneurs. We bet our own money on these ads, and we can't keep testing the ads and get 50 add to carts for, I don't know, $30 per add to cart when all you can really pay for an add to cart is like $5, right? What we need to do is we need to apply some critical thinking, and if one ad, for example, has 9 add to carts and all your other ads have 0 or 1 or 2 add to carts, then it's smart to look at the ad and see, okay, what sets this ad apart from the others, that it's driving more purchase intent, because more purchase intent means that if you keep running that ad, it likely will get a purchase further down the line, and you can sort of subtract what that ad has that the others don't and use that and magnify it or change it up a bit to get more performance out of the ads. After spotting the commonalities between the ads that had a lot of add to carts versus the ones that didn't, I made a Frankenstein ad of sorts containing all the best elements, and I was able to crack the code within the ad account. Now, I do want to emphasize that I did 30 pages of customer research, business research, research on the unit economics, the profit margins. I wrote 27 ads for 3 different avatars using 3 different emotional levers for each, and then 3 different copywriting frameworks for each. And even with those first 27 ads, there wasn't one ad that was profitable. So what I want to emphasize that media buying and marketing and advertising is really intensive, and you have to do a lot of preparational work. I do see a lot of media buyers or advertisers or whatnot that just get a Google Drive with video folders and then go, okay, yeah, I can run that and create you a good return. Realistically, that's not how it works, and there's a lot more work that goes into an ad account, especially if you want to scale it fast and become really, really profitable. So that's the really cool thing about advertising as well. If you put in the work, then you get the reward. And the reward in this case, and for me in every case, is net profit or cash flow in the ad account and in the business. So in the first month, we increased the online store sales by 98%, and we dropped our cost per acquisition from £40 down to £28, which was a 30% decrease of the cost per acquisition at scale. So after finding out what messaging worked in the ads, I started working on a new landing page. This was because the old landing page was a very factual and kind of, from my point of view, a bit boring and maybe even a bit confusing, because it went in depth on ingredients that were really complicated for anyone that wasn't their current customer, because they had a lot of customers that knew a lot about supplements, but we wanted to attract customers that didn't know a lot about supplements, and we wanted to address the mass market, right? And not just that small subset of people. They were talking a lot about like different ingredients such as choline, carnitine, L-theanine. It almost felt like reading an academic paper or study versus just a very convincing landing page. So knowing what worked in the ads, I used similar lingo and verbiage on that new landing page, and it became a more benefit and review driven landing page. And I also gave the founder a script to record a video that was focused on the main pain point that was working well in the ads. So that new landing page also worked really well, and in an A/B test with the original landing page running against the new landing page, the original landing page got a £99 cost per conversion. To be fair, that was surprisingly high to me. In previous runs, it had a lower cost per acquisition, but in this A/B test, where we spent at least £500, it got a really, really poor conversion rate. And yeah, it's just what it is. So the new landing page did a lot better and acquired customers for just £30. So that was a 70% decrease in cost per acquisition. And in that second month, also introducing that new landing page and scaling the new landing page, we increased their first time orders by 345%, all the while decreasing their cost per acquisition by as much as 40%. You can see from the Slack messages that we brought in more customers than their previous highest revenue day, on which they discounted their products by as much as 50%, where we didn't even use a single discount. So really, really cool case study and some really cool days in between there. And thanks to the results, ultimately was able to secure third-party funding, which they needed to buy more stock and to grow their business even more. So it was an extremely successful period. I've only just begun recording case studies like these, and I'm not really sure whether I'll continue doing these, as I don't know whether people are watching this or even valuing this. So if you want me to share more case studies, I also have one case study where I scaled an ad account from $0 in ad spend all the way to $350,000 in ad spend in just 60 days. If you find these interesting, then I can do a really in-depth case study on that one. It's really interesting. I can show you all the ads. I can show you all the testing that I did and really get granular because it is a really cool case study. But then, I'll need to know if there's like some demand for it. So if you can let me know by just commenting or subscribing or whatnot, if there's enough interest, then I'll keep making these case studies. So thank you very much for watching this video all the way through till the end. And who knows, maybe I'll see you next time. Cheers.